Think we're live. Uh-oh. We're having problems. Can you hear us? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, we can hear you. There. Hey, we
Hey.
made Hey! Having a
Hi, guys. Technical
little
difficulties.
technical difficulties, so it looks like Instagram's not working. Um, our producer is all over it, though. Hold on, I got to slide over there. There. How's Lindsay? I haven't talked to you all week.
Um, Lindsay is recovering. It's time to collect two of every animal. I'm sure you've seen all over the news about how there's been flooding in Texas. Um,
Heartbreaking.
and I had a panic. I told you and Curtis this, but for our viewers, we had an absolute panic when we woke up on the on the 5th because my niece was supposed to have been at Camp Mystic this week, and she wasn't because of a scheduling conflict with her cheer camp. But the rest of us family members was not. We were not told that.
Oh, you didn't know.
We
That's right.
didn't know, so we saw the news. We're like, oh crap! It wasn't until my sister-in-law told us a little bit later that, or my mother-in-law, somebody told us that she's not there. Well, she was supposed to be, but she was not there this year. And we're like, oh thank God.
I mean,
That was terrifying.
would she have been affected in the way, with all this tragedy? Would she have been one of them, you think, or would she have gotten to safer ground?
I don't know.
It's not something fun to contemplate, is it?
She's gone a couple years now, but and we've seen a lot of people that don't understand how flash floods work. Or like you don't, guys, I don't think y'all understand. The river rose 26 feet, 50 feet in some places in 45 minutes.
It's just
no
like
one,
Yeah.
no one expected that.
Yeah.
And the meteorologists told us that the storm is going to move on, but it didn't. It's like Harvey. No one was expecting Harvey to sit there
Mhm.
for days and dump rain. We had the equivalent of Niagara Falls dump on us in a small area in 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's and I know some people are blaming the weather forecasters. One, it was in the middle of the night, so
Well, yeah, we all got, so on the 4th of July, I live in Bear County, which is south, but we had flash flood warnings going off all during the 4th. We got flash flood warnings an hour before, but it wasn't critical. The river didn't surge until 4 o'clock in the morning.
right.
And
So by the time they're warning people, it's say 2 o'clock in the morning. People are asleep.
it's called a natural disaster for a reason. It's called a flash
it's hard.
flood.
It's truly heartbreaking, and what people don't realize is there was a flash flood in North Carolina too this week, but it's not making the news because obviously the other one is far more serious. But I believe there were 5 deaths in North Carolina, if I remember right, from whatever the hell Celeste or whatever his name was. The way they name these hurricanes to me is ridiculous because there was one down in Mexico, which was the A. It was over and done with in like 4 hours. I'm like, you're just trying to pump the names up so you can claim there were more hurricanes. But anyway, when these tragedies happen, it's just so heartbreaking. And that particular one in Texas, I can't watch the news on it anymore. It's just, you think about, back, here it is, back in the day, everybody drink. We used to camp along a river, and not that it was flood stage ever, but it could have. It's up in the Adirondacks. It would have taken a lot, but had we been there and something like that happened, we would never know. We'd have gotten wiped out. So, oh wow!
I saw.
Hold on, Lindsay. Wait. I got a surprise for you. You ready? So he sent a tiny diny, so we have to do a roar. And since he said, don't say anything, since he sent a hat and mustache, we have to go. The rest are on you from here on out. I was trying to save your voice a little bit because we're going to get 10 of them today, people. I want 10 hat and mustaches. So that was one. So yeah, I thought you guys would like that. Smartass is laughing. So
He's always laughing.
Yeah, well, that's why we love him so much. But anyway, getting back to the other stuff, it's it was a tough week in seeing all that, and my heart goes out for all the families that are affected, and I want to share something else that affected me. Lindsay and Curtis know about it, but this past weekend, an old friend of mine, so someone who was friends with my ex-wife, her best friend, my second ex-wife's best friend's husband unalived himself in front of her this past weekend. And that's really been affecting me. That's the second unaliving that I've known in the last 3 weeks. Um, if guys, if you're struggling, reach out to people, get help, get some help. Please do not do what those two guys did. All right. I've really been struggling with it. And obviously, I'm on the periphery of both of them. One that happened on Father's Day. That one, he did it for financial reasons, we found out ultimately. So he made some bad investments. They were broke. He did it so that she could get the insurance money. I mean, the stupidity of that, please, please. And the other situation, we don't know why, but we heard a rumor. It's medical. It's not confirmed. You know, if you got a medical diagnosis, why would you do that in front of your wife? Please don't, guys. That's all I'm going to say on it. I'm not going to go into more details. If you're struggling like that, go get some help. Please don't do what those guys did. Just don't. Such a Dan the downer today, huh?
Yeah. That's okay, because I picked the topic today.
Go, because I'm going to shut up for a minute.
All right, so I watched a video and then a video reply on the topic, and that got me thinking. The original video was a woman who said, I'm talking to other stay at home moms,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes, I want to give you an analogy. She said, stop yelling at your husbands who come home and they ask you basically for a sit rep before they jump in to help you. Like, if you were to go to your husband's job and you were to sit down at his desk, would you know exactly what to do? Would you look around and see what needs to be done in the correct order? Like, if someone came to you and asked for a file, would you know where to get that file? Or would you know what this project is on? Like, or you would know this? And then another woman came and made a reply to that going, are we trying to compare a husband knowing, like looking around his house and knowing what needs to be done and taking care of the kids that he helped create with knowing how to do that job? And we need to stop like weaponizing incompetence people. And the thing about it is, I watched both videos. I went back and I found the original video, watched the whole thing, and then watched the reply. And I'm like, there is a big difference, and I see this all the time. Like, women always complain about when guys ask, what do you need me to do? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's a difference between weaponized incompetence and coordination. Because, like, when I was a shift manager at McDonald's and I would come onto the floor and I'm getting ready to clock in, or my shift has just started and the other manager is getting ready to leave, I can look around just fine and see all things that need to be done. But I don't want to screw up the other manager if they've got stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
They might have already started doing something. I don't want to get in their way and become a hindrance. So I would always ask, you were trained to do this, to ask, what do you need me to do? And then you get a sit rep. That's basically what guys are doing. And for some reason, that's not good enough. And then on the reverse side, the men who do take initiative and just jump in, what do they always get told? Why are you mopping the floor? Why are you doing that wrong? I don't need you to do this. You need to do this other thing. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. So I kind of wanted to talk about this where women get off, I guess, like where the miscommunication got tangled up from. Why is it such a burden to ask, what do you need me to do? Because, like, and I've used this example before, if I'm in the middle of doing 8 things at once, because the way I clean like a scatterbrained squirrel because I have ADHD, so I have like 8 different things going at once.
Okay.
And I'm deep cleaning the kitchen, but I'm not doing it in any order that makes sense to anyone but me.
That would
So
drive
if
me crazy. Yeah.
so if Mr. Squirrely comes in and asks, "Do you need any help?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "What do you need me to do?" The same way that if he's doing something, he is doing something in an order that I don't understand. Like his order of operations and mine do not do not mesh.
His are
So
logical, yours aren't.
exactly, and
And that's not an insult. You agree, right?
I agree. Uh, so I don't understand why it is like we're back to, I guess we're just back to men are just supposed to be able to like just know,
We're
just
supposed
like
to be able to read
read our
minds.
minds.
Yeah, we're supposed
Like
to be able to read minds.
telepathy is not the bare minimum. Like telepathy is like way so far away above the bare minimum. And then on another kind of segue into this, because I was reading the comments through all this video, and I absolutely called BS in the comments. I was like, okay, I'm calling BS here because, and I gave the manager story, and of course all the women was like, well, you obviously don't have a husband that does that. I go, actually, I do, which is how I know you're full of shit. Um, and um, then I heard the new term that they have going on, the mental load
Oh,
crap.
geez, that one. Oh God.
And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, do we not think that men have a mental load that they have to accomplish too? Like, I'm sorry, ladies, and I called bullshit on this one too. I was like, I hate to break it to you, but my husband's mental load far supersedes and it far exceeds mine. When he's on the job, he's in charge of running the $1 billion flight simulators for the C5 Galaxy training course for all new flight engineers and pilots in the United States Air Force. That man is doing a million things at once. That is more than I have ever had to do ever in any home job, in any paid job. And to sit there and say men don't have a mental load, I'm like, everyone does, Samantha. It's called being an adult. The difference is that when you have a mental load, you it's just called being an adult. So you're mad that he asks you for help, like, what do you want me to do? You're mad if he just jumps in and does it on his own. You're mad because he sat down and wanted to decompress for 30 minutes before he jumps up and just starts whatever. Why are you married? They didn't
Or
like they didn't like that answer when
oh,
I
of
asked
course
them
not.
why they were married. I was like, why are you married? If you are that miserably unhappy, what you want is a male version of you. You want to hear your thoughts and everything, a
Yeah,
replica
but
of
they hate
you.
those too,
I want a replica of themselves
and then they
with
hate them.
with the right parts,
The appropriate
the appropriate parts.
accoutrement, we'll call them. Now it's funny because I pretty much have a role reversal to you. So I'm the one that works from home, right, doing this stuff. I do probably 85% of the housework, cleaning, and all that. I don't look for credit or anything like that. And if I were to sit there and talk about my mental load, Cupcake, if it's a you got a problem. You need therapy. Sorry. All right. Compared to my wife, who Lindsay knows what she does, who's a high level executive under constant pressure, literally life and death at times. If I were to hit her with, you don't even care about my mental load because, God forbid I didn't sweep the floor today, the world's going to end, she would rightfully bitch slap me. And I would say she's 100% entitled to, right? Come on. I did 3 loads of laundry this morning. Oh my God, it took me forever, Lindsay. It was 6 hours. It took me 6 hours to do all that laundry. Oh, it was so exhausting. The mental load. I had to push the button. I had to open the lid. Can you believe this shit? I had to open the lid. I had to take the stuff out of the basket and put it in the drum. And then you probably never did this. I had to take this little pod thing and put it in, and then I had to close the lid. Oh my God, the mental load was just overwhelming. And then I had to move it to the dryer and do another load. I mean, but that's exactly what they're saying, right? I mean, it's ludicrous when I say it that way, but that's what they're saying. Oh, wait a minute. Wait, wait. I got you covered, Linz. Ready? That
Yeehaw.
was for Hayes, Rianne. That's 2. I'm looking for 10 today. Oh wow, they're on a roll. All right, this one's you, Linz.
Yeehaw.
All right, there. So, but that's when I hear about the mental load stuff. That one just Oh, I had to schedule the doctor's appointment. Oh, Marcia, really? I scheduled a couple yesterday. It took me all of what 3 minutes. I mean, I was on hold for a while, but yeah, could you get me in on New Year's Day at 3? It's not that hard, okay? Compared to like your husband, what he's doing literally is a matter of life and death, potentially. My wife literally deals with life and death every single day, potentially. Not every, it doesn't happen every day, but potentially it's there. Come on, just stop. Stop, Felicia. Stop.
And what I see is where I think a lot of this is coming from is believe it
They're
or not.
bombing us. You're again.
Yeehaw!
Oh, I like that one.
Um, where I think a lot of this is coming from, believe it or not, is from the other side of the aisle, the boss babes, the ones that are the majority of women. So we have had numerous women in like what 3 generations now be told to eschew traditional roles and go to work. So those women look down on the women who chose um that's another conversation I had recently. Um to be more traditional
Sorry, I'm reading the comments. Go ahead. Don't
and,
let me distract you.
and in order to make us feel better about ourselves, the more traditional women, we're basically trying to get the mean girl to be nice to us. Going, no, but look, we have to deal with the mental load, and we have to deal with all of this, we have to deal with all of that, and he's weaponized incompetence, and look what we don't have to do. We're just as good as you. And I'm like, why do you care if bitch Barbie, corporate Barbie, uh, likes you? You shouldn't care, number one. And number two, if you're really going to at least admit who you're trying to impress, because you're making men out to be the scapegoat. You're dogging on them to try to make
Dogging on
yourself
the
feel
man you
better.
love, by the way, that you
You
married.
supposedly love, by the way, and I've asked that numerous times. I'm like, look, if he's really that incompetent, why the f did you marry him? If he
And
was
why are you
literally that incompetent, why are you still with him? Why did you marry him? And gods above, why did you reproduce with him? Was he that incompetent before you got married? Well, no, he used to do everything. Okay, why isn't he doing it now? Could it be because you've emasculated him to within an inch of his life, so he's afraid to change a light bulb without asking you if it's okay? Because the last time he did it, you screamed at him?
or you didn't turn it the right way? The light bulb. There's only one way to turn it, honey.
Mhm.
Yeah, but you didn't do it my way. No, it didn't. Yeah.
I mean, they micromanage the women that do this. They micromanage their husbands to death, or it doesn't even have to be a husband, just a male partner. And
They do it to female
they
partners.
do it to female partners too, because the lesbian divorce rate is
Well, it's
shockingly
funny.
high.
So I had a conversation with a lesbian couple not too long ago, what, 5 6 days ago, Saturday. Um, and they were like, "What do you do?" Well, I'm a content creator. I talk about men's issues, blah blah blah. So they kind of wanted to know more about it, and they were saying that everything we believe is true. They are more violent. They divorce more, and I said, "Well, do you guys do that?" Of course, they went, "No." We're the exception, and I believe them. I actually do believe them. But they're like, "Oh yeah, that's all true." And then they said other things I can't say because we'd get banned instantly. But let's just say it was freaking hilarious. you know, guys, just so you know, because I had a couple people request to join live. We do not bring guests on unless they're pre-planned, just because we have to be careful of what's said. So, no offense to you guys.
But the other comment that I mentioned that I had on line was someone was talking about women have to go out and work. The women who stay in the home, of course, they're unhappy because you have to go work outside the home. It's good for your mental health because the women are all so tired of the slave labor inside. And I was like, honest question. I see that one. Honest question. Yeehaw.
Oh
On,
no, I got you covered. Hold on.
um,
I'm gonna get a bunch of them now.
honest question. Why do you think domestic labor is slavery? Because slavery implies, by definition, that you are being it's involuntary. You cannot choose to be a slave.
Hmm.
Um, and in the West, if you choose to do domestic labor, that is not slavery. And she goes, why can't it be both? And I'm definition of slave, involuntary.
No.
If you enter into an agreement with your partner that you were going to do the domestic labor, then that is no different than someone in the service industry. Well, you don't get paid. I'm like, yeah, you do get paid. Your lifestyle is being taken care of. That you are being paid in a lifestyle. The money may never change hands, but he's paying the working spouse, male or female, because this works in lesbian relationships too. The working spouse is paying for all of your half of the bills and to fund your lifestyle. That is you being paid.
Overpaying too.
Overpaid in many cases for the amount of work you're doing because, we have these wonderful things called machines that do most of our labor
Yeah,
for us.
taking the chicky nuggies out of the freezer and dumping them in the air fryer for 8 minutes, along with a bunch of fries. That's not what a chef does. So stop you getting the I want to be paid like a chef, at $100,000 a year. Now it takes you about 4 minutes a day, and you're not producing meals. Sorry, or a seamstress. Really? When was the last time? Now you're the exception, of course, but when was the last time you sewed anything, honey? Stop. Just stop with it all. And oh, by the way, if it's that bad, let your husband stay home. You go earn all the money. Let him stay home. I guarantee you, there's a ton of men out there more than happy to take that role on, and will do it better because I have done it. It was the easiest, happiest, funnest time of my life.
Well, I mean, there's all the men in the comments that are sitting there saying, "Well, I would love to stay home," because I mentioned that. I had a
Yeah,
nice little back and forth. And there were tons of guys who sat there and said, I would love to do that. Or I did do it. Or I put my wife through nursing school and I stayed home with the kids for 10 years.
Maggie, that was
Or,
or Houston, that was good. Sorry.
and so it's a whole bunch of women trying to convince other women that men are horrible. And
Well,
that,
I mean,
oh, men would never want to do this. And then you have all the guys in the comments going, I would, I would, I would, I would.
well, yeah, it's like I said, I do about 80, 85% of the housework. Doesn't take me more than an hour a day at most. I do probably 3/4 of the cooking because my wife loves to cook. So she does a lot of it on the weekends, or if she gets home early enough, she'll do it. But you know, does it? I made a hell of a recipe yesterday. Took me 15 minutes. I mean, yeah, was it restaurant quality? Sure, I'll argue it was. Took me 15 freaking minutes. All right. If I were to sit there and go, my wife's not doing the fair share, she's doing the bare minimum. BS. Because the hours she puts in every week dwarf mine. All right. I have it made. And I just put a lot of hours into doing this stuff. But I don't pretend my job is anywhere near where hers is at. Um, and, it just speaks to how ludicrous the whole argument is because they never want to be the one that goes out and earns the money and let the husband stay home. Well, men are supposed to be providers. Well, no. Sorry, I need a new name. Rachel. Um, it's not 1955. There's nothing stopping you from being the primary breadwinner other than you don't think you should be, which means you're actually not for equality.
Well,
Because I,
the irony is that they're getting mad. The men are like, well, you need to be a provider. You need to do all this. And I'm like, okay, you want a traditional man, but you are unwilling to be a traditional woman because a traditional woman would shut up and fold the damn laundry.
too, I need.
Yeehaw!
Oh,
Yeehaw!
there we go. Three more, and then I'll hit our goal for the thing. So I can play the roar again. Um, I just lost my train of thought. Go. The squirrel left. Go.
It wasn't me this time.
No, it was.
Um, but no, it's true. They want a traditional man, but they are unwilling to be traditional women.
Hold on. We got a tiny diny, so I'm trying to stay up on them. You like that one, by the way?
I do like that one. And
Oh, I got four of them now. Go finish your thought, and then we'll do it.
um, so I'm sitting there saying, look, you get what you give. If you give court gesture energy, you can't really expect, queen. Like if you treat him like a king, he will treat you like a queen. If you expect him to treat you like a queen, but you treat him like the court gesture,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's here's what they're ultimately doing. They're playing victim. That's what it is. It's all about being the victim, getting, bonus points with the coven. I'll be more of a victim than you. And they go and they make these videos, and I've got a couple videos I'm working on talking about that. And I don't think, and I'd value your opinion on this, that these women realize the damage they're doing when they go and out their husbands. And I've seen a couple of them go, well, I haven't blocked. He's not going to know. He may
Oh
not
no.
know directly. He may not see it, but your family's going to see it. Your friends are going to see it. His coworkers might see it. And that's even worse, right? I mean, if I went to work and I had a coworker come up to me and say, I saw your wife's video where she just trashed you, dude. What the hell? Oh, oh, that would not be good. I mean, I would lose my shit because it is the number one thing for men is respect, right? Loyalty, respect, and all that. But respect is right there. That's total disrespect. And once you break that, fixing it. I don't care how much you apologize, ladies. It's not going to be fixed. He'll never trust you again. It's not. He's just, that's the way it's going to be. And yet you see these women out there by the thousands doing this and encouraging each other to do it. I watched one similar to what you were talking about the other day. And, she was just going off and then encouraging other women to post their stories. And I'm like, you're going to end marriages, honey. And
Well, so I always when I talk to the women who do this, is like, what was the point of doing this? What was the point of making him like? She's like, well, I just wanted to, show that, I was like, you wanted sympathy points from women you do not know. So you're basically a reverse pick me because you're looking for female validation of people you do not know. Um, you're the new breed of pick me girl. Um,
oh, I like that.
and you're doing it at the cost of your marriage, which tells me all I need to know about you. She's like, well, have you ever had your husband doing this? It's like, yes. And guess what? I would never tell anyone else the details. I would never betray my husband because he's my person. And they're like, they always tell me that I've been brainwashed. They always tell me that I am a what was it, the good little evangelical Christian broodmare. Um,
You?
me.
I'm sorry.
They make all these sorts of assumptions about me, and they tell me that, well, my husband must just tell me all the things to do. That I basically live in the Handmaid's Tale, and I was like, what is this obsession with? You want to be oppressed so badly. You want to be oppressed so badly, but historically speaking, women have not been that easy to oppress. And it's actually quite insulting to insist that we're that easy to oppress.
Yeah, really. All right, I got a whole bunch, so I'm going to do one blanket for all the Dinos because you guys sent a crap load of them, and I'm going to save Lindsay because there's four of them.
I can do four.
All right, you get the other three. Go.
Yeehaw! Yeehaw! Yeehaw!
Thank you, everyone. I'm just gonna do a blanket thank you because there's too many names to mention. We got a new one, Tiny Diny Hot Dog. I hadn't seen that one before. Hate sent three of them, so I guess I owe him one more dragon for now. Hold on, and then we'll come back to it. I gotta get a shorter dragon because that one's too long. But yeah, I'm having way too much fun with the soundboard, Scott. Yeah, and I've got some other ones loaded up for appropriate times, but oh yeah, Curtis just reminded me. Hey, we're 30 minutes into the show. If you haven't already, give us the heart, the like, the thumbs up, all that good stuff. Whoop, wrong one. Show us the love. There it is on TikTok. Because I'm trying to run one board, Curtis is running another. So like, that's the wrong one. I got too many freaking things I'm trying to do. There's the other one I'm looking for, the hat and mustache. We've hit our goal, but you know what? I say we double it. I want 20 now. We got 10. Back to what we were talking about. You go.
Well, Country Born said women were not happy, so we're literally take humans off the board. So, in addition to the two videos that I already talked about, I responded to another video where a woman was talking about happy women don't leave marriages, and I agree. But I have a caveat. She says I'm a stay-at-home mom, and if the goal of a husband is, gift giving and acts of service, love language, and all of that, if the goal of his, being a husband isn't his wife's happiness, what are you? Isn't that the point of marriage? And I go, the point of marriage is partnership, number one, but number two, it is not your husband's job to make you happy because he can't. If so, and I used my example. I said when I was depressed, when I was the worst after my second child, after I had diagnosed with severe postpartum depression, I was miserable, and it was something fundamentally broken inside of me. There is not a thing my husband could do to make me happy, and he tried. He bent over backwards. He twisted himself in knots, and I kept telling him to stop trying because I saw the 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 toll it was taking on him. But of course, he didn't listen to me because he's a good man.
Because you were deranged.
um,
The hormones got raging. My first wife went through a little bit of PPD. Um, she was actually worse during labor than that was, but um, again, much like your husband, you don't know what to do. You try different things. Sometimes it blows back on you worse. Other times, okay, that one worked, but next time you go and try it, it doesn't work.
and, it's a temporary
it is.
happiness, and there's nothing my husband could have done to fix me. Absolutely nothing. I had to fix myself.
He's been trying for 17 years though.
Yeah, he hasn't done it yet. He knew the red flags though when he married me, so that wasn't a surprise.
Wow. See, I got that one in. Just real
Um,
quick before I lose the thought, because you said something, and I got to reply to it. You said, "Are happy women don't leave marriages, right?
mhm.
Miserable men will stay in marriages.
Yes, they will. And
They never want to talk about that."
but I was responding to this woman. She was like, "Well, isn't the point of having marriage?" I said, "No, it's not." And I think that we've done a great disservice to women to expect them to tell them that they're supposed to find the guy that makes them happy, because the guy cannot make you happy. You have to make yourself happy and then find someone to go be happy with. Now, I will agree that your spouse is supposed to compound your happiness, but if you cede the responsibility for your happiness away to someone else, you will be miserable for your entire life because they can't make you happy.
No.
And it's a disservice to women, I think, to continue to lie to them and tell them, "Oh, you're supposed to find the man that makes you happy."
Good luck with that.
And I agree it with the principle, if it's you're supposed to find the person that you within yourself makes you happy, like exude happiness, like great. But the way that phrase is always used in practice is they're looking for a man to outside externally make them happy. And I'm like, look, if you're fundamentally broken inside, which I was at one point in time, which is how I know that you can have the most loving, caring spouse in the world and you'll still be miserable. So I agree, miserable women or happy women don't leave marriages, but I also disagree fundamentally with why most of those women are miserable. I would argue that most of those women are not miserable because their husbands aren't good husbands. I would argue that most of those women are miserable because something fundamentally is broken internally and they keep looking outside of themselves to fix it.
Well, let me postulate something to you and get your opinion. So, do you think, because I do, that a lot of, because I've shared often, because they, come at, the male loneliness epidemic and all that crap. We all, seen that. And I keep pointing out to the ladies over and over again at every age group, income level, across the board, married, single, women suffer from depression and are treated for it more than men are. And I'm not saying that it's a slam or a knock or anything like that. It's just simple reality. And when you look at that and see when it started occurring, coincides with feminism starting, right? Becoming mainstream in the 70s. Do you think, Lindsay, as a woman, that societal pressures on women to be perfect, because there's a ton of it, and most of it comes from women, let's be honest, right? Do you think that's playing into the rampant depression that women are going through? Because it's not a good thing. I'm not saying this is a slam. I don't want anybody thinking I am. I feel bad about it.
I think that while feminism has a hand in it, women have been miserable since we were forced into the workforce when we were told that the only way to be strong, women is to act like men. When we were told to push down our femininity and to aspire to act like men, be aggressive, be assertive, be, all of this stuff. And those are the pillars that feminism upholds because traditionally feminine women, as you know, as I know, are shat on from a very great height in large quantities by every other woman. And when we were told that we had to eschew our femininity and act like men and join the workforce and eschew family, stop having a stop being aspiring to get married, stop aspiring to be mothers. That's when the misery started. Because guess what? Women aren't men.
No, I mean, I would argue, why would you want to be a man? Why would you want to deal with all the crap we have to deal with? Right? It's we are fundamentally different. We have a lot of similarities, to be sure, but we're never going to be the same. Women are never going to be as strong as men. Men are never going to have babies. Sorry, some of the people politically will say they can. BS. Okay, it's biology. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It does coincide with trying to get women to believe that, and this is what I'm talking about, is they sold women this fairy tale that if you go work 40 hours a week in the corporate world, getting bossed around by a guy there or a woman, right? You're going to be happy. And most women aren't. Most men would prefer not to have to work the jobs they do. So why you think that would be good? And now we're seeing them ramp it up because they were running out of things to encourage women to, blame men for or hate or whatever. So now they've decided that being a mother is a bad thing because it ruins your body forever. I'm like, do they not realize what the effect of that's? They're telling this to like teenage and 20-year-old girls. Those girls are going, the clock will come, right? The biological clock. They're going to hit 30s and go, I want a child. And the wall's also a very real thing. And they're going to be miserable. That's not a good thing. I don't understand, and I know you and I have talked about it before. I do not understand why they think that this is a good thing for women.
I don't think they do. I think they've just realized that they've gone so far to one side that they won't admit that they were wrong. That
Fair point.
they're so far into the lie that they're not willing to admit we were wrong, so they're doubling down.
I mean, the greatest thing, in my opinion, that a human being can do, male or female, is gestate another human being inside of you. There is no better achievement in the world, in my opinion. I wish I could have done that.
I'm basically a wizard because I made a whole life and it came out of a portal and now it's a person. I'm
Yeah.
basically a wizard.
I mean, why are they shitting all over that now? And you see it constantly these days. I mean, yeah, you get into that area of TikTok, it goes off and all that, but I'm like, ladies, that you should be celebrating that because men can't do that, you know. And yet it's now being demonized, and I think part of it's men walking away, but you're also seeing women decide not to have children, and the birth rates are being affected by it.
And I mean, the thing is, yes, it's true that not all women want to have children. Someone in the comments said women, not all women. No, not all women do. Um, but the women that don't nowadays look down on. Truly, they condescend and they patronize to the women who did want children. Like, how dare you make a choice different from the one I made?
Look at Scott's comment. He said,
No, no, no.
"Hold on, no, I got Scott." So Scott said, "Is if Lindsay's a wizard, then Dan is gowned off with alopecia." To which I say, "Well done, sir. Well done. That was genius. Absolutely genius."
I mean, I have been told that because I chose to leave the workforce after when I got pregnant with my first child, and when I decided to stay at home and be more traditional homemaker, that I am a traitor to my gender. That I should. My children are grown. My children are in school now. I should go back. I should want to go back to work for a boss. I go, why? Why would I want to go back to work for a boss, typically a male boss, who does not treat me well, versus the husband who treats me like a goddess and a queen?
Well, let's talk about that the child care though, right? So I mean, you've got a child with special needs, right?
Hmm.
Why would women would tell you you're, a traitor for doing what you should be doing, raising that boy, helping him with applauded for, not called a traitor. And this mindset they have now that, yeah, I'm going to let a complete stranger raise my kid. How's that working out for you, people?
I went to school with that generation, the first real generation where almost everyone's mother worked and they were raised in a daycare. I hated the people I went to school with. I do not want to replicate with that with my children.
And they, those kids, well, you see it across society now. My generation, here we go again, right? Get ready to drink, people.
Back in
Yeah,
my
back in my
day.
day, um, I was 8 years old. I was home. I was responsible enough to handle anything. Now, 18-year-olds can't be home alone. They can't handle it. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to use the microwave, all this stuff. And, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not really. And it just blows my mind that we've become a world, because I think it's worldwide, where we've decided that complete strangers is better than the actual parents at raising the kids. Sending people to work 40 to 60 to 80 hours a week is a good thing for everybody. Um, it's insanity.
At least in my point of view, now I do not dox on the or I do not look down on the people who have to have both parents working in order to survive. In my personal opinion, I think to myself, if we're going to have children, I want to raise them. Why would I have children and then give the responsibility of raising them to someone else? Especially when I have seen what type of people that produces. Millennials. um,
Well, you're one, so you can say it.
I am one of the
That's my generation. Is the
I am a
Gen
micro
Z.
generation of zennials, not a real millennial. Thank you very much. But
You're
no,
you're an no, you're a mid
I'm an
millennial.
I'm an elder millennial because I was born before 1990. Um, and I went, like I said, I went to school with these people that were raised in childcare. And then those people went on to have children, and now I deal with their children. And I don't like dealing with their children either because their parents have, these are the parents that hand their kid a phone and won't even look up. Um, and it's women who are driving this, and they're blaming men for it. And I'm like, for our decisions. Like, it's our choices.
They wouldn't do that, Lindsay. Come on.
And I had this conversation with someone else recently. We were talking about bodily autonomy, and I said one of the things about bodily autonomy is you have to take responsibility for what you do with your body. That's part of having bodily autonomy. Like if you're going to have the privilege, you need to, or the right, you need to have the corresponding responsibility. And of course, we know nowadays that accountability is kryptonite. Um, and I see a lot of women who want to punish men in the case of weaponized incompetence, the mental load, all the things we've already talked about today. They want to punish men for the choices we made. Like, look, we made this decision, and good or bad, we have to suffer the consequences. And then they want to blame the patriarchy for why women are the way because the patriarchy wanted this. No, actually, the patriarchy did not. The patriarchy
Stop
died,
talking.
and feminism killed it. It died in the 60s. Um, and it's harming women to keep doubling down.
Yeah, and where are they going to go from here, right? If you take away motherhood, I mean, if you take away giving birth, what's left? I mean, effectively, you might as well be a man. Trust me, ladies, you don't want to be a man. Trust me. It, being a man is not as fun as you might think it is, right? You may think we get all the respect and all that. We get no respect from anybody. Pull out my Rodney Dangerfield. We get no respect at all. It's scary. All right, we got another hat and mustache, so hit that real quick before I forget.
Yeehaw!
Right. I'm trying to keep up with them because they're bombing us today. Lots of
Well,
good comments all over the place, guys. And
well, we
I'm
have we
reading.
have a not so nice comment. It says self-awareness is severely lacking with me. You accuse others for looking down on you, and I do it to them. No, I don't look down on them. I feel sorry for them. The women who look down on me, who patronize me and condescend to me, I know what a pick me is. Thank you. I get called it all the
Oh, I
time.
see who it is. Yeah, we got one of them.
Um,
Here,
but
let
to
me solve this problem real quick. Done.
but it does bring up a good point, and that's the fact that women like me or Sarah Eaton or Jeannie of all trades or any of the women who speak out about all of this, who demonizes us more. We get more hate from other women than I think I have. I think I may have met maybe five, and I can count them all in one hand. Truly misogynistic men in my entire life.
Yeah, we're not never said that, but it's not all men. And to your point, by the way, so I think it was Monday. I recorded a podcast with Dr. Lynn Steinberg, who's, in my opinion, the world's foremost expert on parental alienation. Right? She has testified in front of government agencies. She is an expert witness in trials. She's written books. She's got programs she's developed. She's the number one, in my opinion, when it comes to parental alienation. And she talked about she had to leave the country. She had to move from LA, she talks about it during the podcast, to Canada because of all the death threats she was getting. And it wasn't men. Not a single man made the death threat. It was all women. Let that sink in. Because we were talking both on air and off air about it, and that podcast will come out probably about 2-3 weeks. But when you realize that they are so determined to silence any opposition that they have no problem threatening another woman with unaliving, and these were serious threats, right? And I'm using her as an example. I could name off the top of my head 2 dozen more. Not a problem. I know Lindsay's one of them, right? It's, I think about some of the other ones that I'm aware of. And they all, to a woman, say, never gotten one from a man. Now I'm sure occasionally there's been one. I have gotten death threats from men. I've also gotten death threats from women. Most of the time with the men, they're just spewing, right? I've had one serious one from a man, and we took care of that in about 10 minutes. But when you see and realize what women like yourself, Sarah, the Emily, we could rattle off name after name, what they have to face from other women. And then you see these videos out there go, well, if there were no men, there'd be no reason to have police, and there'd be no wars and all that. Honey, there'd be a war every 28 days. Who are you kidding? Right?
It would be more often than that because not all women sync up.
Well, yeah. Well, I was trying to be smart ass, but
But yeah, I mean, I get what you're trying to say, and I mean, I've had guys posture at me and tell me they've called me names or whatever, but they've never wished me true harm. The people who wish not only me true harm, I've had my husband wished true harm. I've also had women threaten my children. Let that sink in. Other women are threatening my children because they don't like that I'm trying to hold women accountable. I just want you to use your brain. You don't even necessarily have to agree with me on every point. You just have to think. I just want you to think, to step out of the bubble that you've been told, like the with all of the padded room, and think about some of the things that you've been told. Because I see a group of women, many generations of them, that are objectively miserable. They're self-medicating with boxed wine and cats, and it's very sad. And because I actually respect women and I want what is best for them, that unfortunately means that I have to have the balls, excuse me, to tell them what you're doing is not working. Um, and maybe you should try something else, because what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You keep picking the same horrible type of man, and you keep wondering why you can't, have a relationship that lasts. You keep trying the same thing over and over again, and you're still objectively miserable. Have you considered maybe an alternative source for your misery? Have you considered a mirror? And some of them will listen, but most of them will not. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I know there's a stereotype that women are not, or women like to tell ourselves that we're emotionally mature. Um, the inability to look inwards for your problem, the inability to have self awareness and reflection, that is not a sign of emotional maturity. That is a actual sign of emotional immaturity.
Yes, taking accountability and responsibility is what makes you strong. Not taking it makes you weak. And that's, and again, we're generalizing, but stereotypes exist for a reason. They really do. And when you see these women out there going, "Oh, the world would be just a perfect utopia if there were no men," and all that, and I've got a couple of videos queued up, and I'm debating playing off that pediatrician down in, was it Houston,
Mm-hmm.
who's, I'm like, that's who you're holding up, ladies, as the paragon of virtue. A woman who, for political reasons in this case, wished ill of other little girls. I mean, come on, right? And she's got a long history, by the way. I started. She's got a long history of this stuff, and but that's who the women are holding out as. That's who I want to be like, as opposed to say you, right? Or well, the whole gamut I could run, and I just don't get it. We've talked about this many times, and I still just don't get it. Where is the benefit to women? There isn't one that I can see, and if somebody can tell me one, I'm more than willing to listen. So we're coming up at 10 of 5 on the East Coast. So if you have, she beat me to it. If you haven't already, show some love, give us the heart, give us the like, give us the share. Um, TikTok throttles the crap out of us. So if you're on TikTok, share this, please. Invite your friends to come join us. We're here every week from 4 to 5:30 Eastern. Don't ask me what it is the rest of the places. Uh, just my brain's fried. And don't forget we got a whole slew of them already, but if we get any hat and mustaches gifted on TikTok, we get a yeehaw from Lindsay. And Tiny Dinies get a roar from me. All right. Getting back to the topic of conversation. So, when I look at like various things that you've brought up, and trying to, I think the pendulum is swinging back, but how do we drive it so that it moves a little quicker? Because ultimately, I think you and I would agree we're trying to help women in actuality, and I'll argue that most of the manosphere actually is trying to help women, even though they demonize us.
I mean, we are making a difference because there's more and more people I see popping up on just TikTok, which is a microcosm of the macrocosm, um, coming out and saying we have to stop demonizing men, or ladies, where do you get off? There's far more now than there was even a year ago, and they're only increasing more and more
I
people
agree.
that
I
I've
agree.
never seen before. So we are making a difference. Um, but I think what I would like to do, if in a perfect world, I would like to be able to get to them a little bit younger. I would like to be able to go into, or like say, have a debate, um, have in like a local high school or something, or even a local middle school. Have a feminist come in, and then have another woman who's not a career woman come in. Um, I want to find out that in career day with my youngest son, I want to see if the school will let me come in as a stay-at-home mom, as a traditional homemaker.
That's genius, Lindsay. I mean, I did many career days for my kids back in the day. There wasn't a single time that they had a single mom, or not a single mom, a stay-at-home mom come in. I can't think of a single time. Has anyone ever seen that? I'm just curious now. I would bet never. That's a career.
Because it is a career.
It's a
Um,
career.
and we
Probably the best career anyone could ever have, by the way.
well, not only that, but you have women all over the place, feminists trying to say that it's a job. I agree, it is. But why don't we treat it like one? Why don't we come in for career day? Why don't I talk about how to actually run a home, not just the good enough housekeeping, like the scheduling conflicts, the time management that you have to do. It's basically like being a manager at a restaurant, right? Like that's the way that my grandmother described it to me. You're basically, it is to a job. Um, it's management and administrative in many cases. But I have actually used my list of skills that I have done managing a home, and I've used it on an actual job resume and gotten a job.
I've seen people. I've had people that I've interviewed that were stay-at-home moms for 20 years, getting back in the workforce. And I've actually said to them, "You ran a house. Why isn't it on your resume? Because that counts." Now, I mean, is it the same as being a nuclear engineer?
No,
No, it's not. We're not saying it is. It's still a job. It's
I
a
still I
career.
still maintain it is not being in the trenches. Like the hill I will fight on with the other stay at home moms is I will admit that it is a job, but don't you dare try and tell me that it's 24/7 or that you're in the
Oh, please.
trenches in Normandy.
Oh, yeah, please.
And I
No,
always and we can admit that it's a job without making it sound better than it already is, like without inflating it to make it sound like we're out here slogging through the trenches and it's the 24/7 job and the house is hard. It's like, look, if you, with all of our modern appliances and this wonderful thing called electricity, um, actually truly need 24/7 to do a job to keep the house clean,
then you
you're
ain't
doing
doing
it.
it
You're doing it wrong.
right. Because I do it in about an hour a day now. I mean, if that, and I have it down to a science. In fact, my wife took the other day off, and I had to get her out because she was interfering with my routine. Um, the house is immaculate, although it's dirty today because I didn't clean today. But it is a job. I know some of the guys are going, "It's not." It is. It absolutely is a job. We're not comparing it to rocket science. We're not. It is what it is, but it's a job, and it's, in my opinion, the most rewarding job anyone could ever do, male or female. I loved being a stay at home for just under 2 years. The hands down, the best time of my life, the most rewarding part of my career ever. Loved every minute of it. Zero stress. Zero. Not an ounce of stress. And I did it with 6 kids. The youngest was about 4. The oldest was about 13. Okay. 13, 14, because they're about 10 years apart.
But we're talking about the women that actually do the job, not the ones who sit and scroll on TikTok and then wait for their husbands to come home.
You are okay. My toughest job was a shampoo salesman. He is on a roll. I love it. Keep them coming, buddy. I love it.
But when I say that it's a job, I'm talking about the women who actually do the job, not the women who sit there and claim that they do the job, um, and don't. Because I've been to those women's houses too. If I walk in and
Oh God. Oh
my
Jesus.
toes are attacked by dust bunnies, mutant dust bunnies that are so big that someone owes rent. And I say that, and I own a husky, so trust me, I get the dog hair problem. I get it. It's still you have a vacuum. I have 2 vacuums. I have an upstairs vacuum and a downstairs vacuum. Um, but I also have this wonderful rule that my job as a parent is to run out of jobs. So as soon as I teach my kids how to do a chore, I don't have to do the chore anymore. Um, and also, I also dislike the idea of the name stay-at-home mom because once your kids are in school, you're not really momming much. You're running a household. That's why I prefer traditional
What they're
homemaker.
doing is sitting on the couch watching The View and making TikTok videos.
In many cases, yes, and I can understand why, with that stigma out there, why so many people are sitting in the comments saying it's not a job. I'm specifically speaking to ones who actually do the job,
But we're talking about you.
run the household.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, it's gotten a little bit better.
Oh, we got another little troll coming in. Can't argue with this guy. He hates women. No, I don't. I actually protect women, care about them, love them.
But isn't but to that point, let him just stay for a minute. To that point, isn't
It's a her.
love her? Sorry, um, isn't loving someone or caring someone about wanting them to do their best, like perform at their best and not be miserable?
Well, it's just funny that they come in here and say that I hate women after I just spent the last 15 minutes praising women. It shows you the logic that they have, and they'll go and report this, and we'll get taken down because that's what they do. It just speaks volumes that, again, it goes to what we talked about at the beginning. Women will not take accountability. They can't argue with what we're saying. We're actually praising women, so they have to attack the man or the woman in Lindsay's case. They just can't handle it. And it shows you, again, how they hate women.
It's like a knee jerk response, and I would actually
They have.
argue that the women who
Uh-oh, he's going to do it again.
I would actually argue that the women who are sitting there making excuses for other women are the ones who are the ones who hate women, because you don't want it when you okay, as a parent, I want my children to be the best version of themselves. I want them to be able to take care of themselves. I want them to not need me anymore. That is my job, is to make them
That's every parent's job.
self-sufficient so that they don't need me anymore. That is what you do with someone you care about. And part of also doing something with someone you care about is if I see one of my children doing something that is detrimental to their mental health or their physical health, it is my obligation as someone who loves them to tell them what you're doing is hurtful to you. That's what we're doing. These behaviors that women are doing are causing them their own misery, and we want them to do better. We want them to be happy. And part of caring about someone is telling them when they're doing something that is potentially harmful for them. You would not tell an addict that you love to just take more of the same substance. You would want to try to help them.
I'm
In
just,
this particular moment, the substance that women are all addicted to is rage.
well, I'm sitting here just laughing that we're like praising stay-at-home moms, and it means we hate women. I mean, think about that. That's where we're at with this. It's like you hate women because you want them to be what their biology has created them for. And men, by the way, have their role, right? It just cracks me up. I see Curtis.
So their drug that they're addicted to is rage.
Rage, yes.
I would argue they're addicted.
What was?
Probably one and the same.
Well, hold on. What'd you say, Dan? You cut out.
I think they're addicted to victimhood.
Well, that lets them feel rage at everyone but
Fair point.
themselves.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
all.
but okay, rage and anger are synonymous, right? So that's really that's a secondary emotion, correct?
Mhm.
Because that masks something else. I would hold that their drug is entitlement.
True.
Here's what and Steve said it a little earlier in the comment section that he believes that women should experience life in the 1800s. I would
Oh,
hold,
yeah.
I would hold that everyone needs to, because sometimes my damn kids just need to have the cell phone to go.
I'm game. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Because guess what? When we were growing up, did we have AC? Central air didn't become like a thing until the 90s. Unless you were really rich.
We got AC in the late 70s.
I didn't get central AC here in.
Wasn't central though. It was you put to.
Window units. We had
We
window
had
units.
one air conditioner for the entire house. It was in the living room. So in the summers, I used to sleep on the couch in the living room.
Right. We didn't have it. Central air wasn't a thing until like the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, that's, we had black and white TV up until, the mid 70s.
And then we'd have to use the aluminum foil because to grasp better.
I was the remote control.
Right.
And that's part of the problem is they take for granted everything. I would love for like the electricity to disappear for about a month. We would separate the wheat from the chaff like that. I would be fine.
So
I would be absolutely fine.
So I was an absolute nerd I'm still a nerd. And I was so into Little House on the Prairie, and they had a Little House on the Prairie summer camp where you would go outside and you would live like the 1800s for 2 weeks when I was a kid. I had a blast. I've learned how to make butter from scratch. I of course, I already know how to sew. I learned how to wash laundry with the washing board, and like you spin it around and you get in, you do it all that way. I know how to make bread from scratch. I know how to pluck and kill a chicken.
I've never done that. Yep.
I've never sweat so much though, because I live in Central Texas. Not only is it hot, it's airy, it's humid. But it gives you an appreciation for things that we have now. We have washing machines, we have dishwashers, we have dryers. I still wish I would like to put a clothesline in my backyard, because something about sun-dried sheets is just...
We have a clothes drying rack that we put outside because it's much better. I mean, you think about something as basic as water.
Uh-huh.
Right. If the electricity goes out for an extended, like I live in a hurricane area, right? You look at Western North Carolina, 7-8 months ago, They had no water. The people there that could survive survived. The people in Asheville, they didn't do so well.
A farmer friend and I were talking about this just today. In fact, is he's got a cattle farm, and I grew up helping on a pig farm, and we had a well that fed water to livestock via windmill. And when the wind didn't blow, we were hand pumping, and it was an all-day ordeal.
Pumping water is a pain in the ass, but have you ever tried hauling it out of a well?
It beats the hand pumping into the trough beats hauling it out of the damn well.
So my dad's house in Albuquerque is well water, and one time the well was not working, so I was the smallest. I got to go down and clap out, and then I got to come out of the well and haul well water. Oh my God, is that my shoulders hurts just thinking about it.
Well, that's why I'm sitting here cracking up, because you think about all these ladies that are on TikTok making their videos.
So that's how
I do that.
So I know what that's like, and I had an absolute blast because I'm still a history nerd.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand what I have,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, it did used to be a 24/7 job for taking care of the house, because it would take you all week to do all of the chores. You'd have Sunday rest, and then you would start all over again. I've also one of the coolest things that I did at the Pioneer Camp was lime wash. I learned how to make lye from ash in the. I also learned how to make soap and also lye wash, because you would lye wash the walls and the floor in order to keep bugs out.
So Steve wants to know if you churned butter. I have.
Yes, I have churned butter.
And in the old school wood churners, my grandmother still has my great grandmother's butter churner.
I had a counter one, so it's.
Oh no, this.
No, I've used a big one. I've used a big one, but I have a counter one.
And that's how they used to keep milk. So that's where butter actually, that was the main reason for it, was so they could store milk, because it turns into the fat, and then you save it.
Well, that, and you salt it.
And you salted it to make the butter last, because but that was all done by hand maybe a little bit more than 100 years ago.
Right. One of the things that I noted here was Lindsay's comment about she's only ran into 5 misogynistic male misogynistic men in her entire life. Here's what I will tell you from my experience running into truly misogynistic men. They purport and claim to be feminist. They tend to lean left, and they are just trying to fit in. They're really psychopaths or sociopaths that just try to sweet talk women into their camp, and then they're really perpetrators.
You're not wrong.
Angel, I am. No, Angel said you're wrong.
And one name comes to mind, and that's Keith Elliotson.
Well, I can name a whole bunch of people,
Wow.
Angel, you're right. I am.
If I'm gonna name a politician that I can get away with saying, it's gonna be Ellison.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're talking about, we're not taking for granted what we have and how easy we have it. And oh, by the way, it's men who created all of that, maintained it, built it. It wasn't women. Sorry, ladies. Were there a few here and there? Absolutely there were. But, I watched them doing some road work down the road, and I drove by and I counted the workers. And there were about 15 guys working. There wasn't a single woman.
Country's right. They are wolf in sheep's clothing.
Absolutely.
Oh, those guys? Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Mr. Clippy's our favorite.
Mr. Clippy, Modern Warrior.
Yeah, I haven't seen Mr. Clippy in a while, but and I have dirt on him. But anyway, it's, again, it goes back to, maybe we ought to appreciate what men do, because you wouldn't have it.
Well, I'll tell you this. Women say there'd be no war and all that. Like, my go-tos on this: Grace O'Malley, Queen Elizabeth I,
Mary Queen of
Scots, Joan of Arc.
The list is not.
And you want to know about some really good business women in antiquity? Queen of Sheba, Cleopatra. Come on. Like even King
Historic
Leonidas' wife was adept at it.
Empress Theodora.
Yes,
Historically speaking, female rulers have started more wars and been responsible for more deaths than kings.
correct, and that's exponentially so.
Ex,
Houston, there was no woman holding the stop sign. They had a guy doing it. Sorry, I'm just reading. I'm reading the comments while you guys are talking. I'm dying here. They're all awesome.
Catherine the Great.
Yep. There's Maggie Thatcher, Theresa May.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
and I actually like Maggie Thatcher. I'm, as a colonialist or whatever the hell they call us. But yeah,
So we as men tend to we prefer the path of least resistance. If we can avoid a war, we'll do it because we know that we're sending someone's son, brother, uncle, father,
one of us.
grandfather, you name it. We know we're sending someone to die.
And sometimes we've made the mistake of going too far and trying to avoid it.
Correct.
Chamberlain, anyone?
So good rulers should not want to harm the people they're supposed to rule, because to rule is to serve. At least that's what I believe. But the number one, when everyone always says women aren't bloodthirsty, I have one name that tops them all: Olga of Kiev.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
And there's tons of other women from activity. The women who always say, well, women aren't that. It's like, look, you're sitting there saying that women are equal to men, and I agree. And that includes being equally horrible people at times. Not all women, but you cannot sit there and say women are equal to men and not accept that women are just as equal or just as capable as men of being horrible, vile, terrible human beings. Because we have a whole human history, that feminists always love to ignore. They always like to do revisionist history. I'm like, that's an insult to women everywhere, because you're basically saying that there's this idea in modernity that because we're now modern, we are better than those who came before us. And I would argue that most of our grandmothers and great grandmothers could talk circles around most modern women today.
Oh, I would totally agree with that, because what those women did back then, right? And again, the feminists shit on them. But what they did, it's survival back then. I've done videos on it. Lindsay has too. 200 years ago, you either worked together as a man and woman or you died. It was that simple.
I think you raise a valid point there, because, okay, so I came from a family where on both sides of my family, I knew great grandparents and my kids knew their great great grandparents. Mm-hmm. So they had the good fortune of being able to talk to their great great grandparents well into their childhood for more than a decade. Mm-hmm. And the perspective that they gained from that was their great great grandmother. She could talk circles around folks. In fact, there was times she was still humbling my grandmother, her daughter, and my mother, her granddaughter. And she'd do it right in front of the kids. And because she was the matriarch, you listened.
There was a matriarchy in the home. Everybody wants to, they don't want to acknowledge that.
My great grandfather called her Grandma Queenie for a damn reason.
And
that's great.
You're making me
everyone knew her as Grandma Queenie.
Same things in my family, right? They focus on, women weren't allowed to have bank accounts. Well, I already did videos disputing that whole thing and proving it wrong. They focus on that, but they never realize or want to talk about the realities. What women had to be in the house because the man was gone 18 hours a day in the summer and 12 to 14 in the winter, sun up to sundown, work in the fields. Because if he didn't, they starved to death.
Well, I would also argue that the power that women claim to have now is nothing compared to the hidden power that women had at the time. Has anyone ever watched Big Fat Greek Wedding? The head of the family might be the husband, but the woman is the neck, and she can turn the head any way she wants to. And that's what women had. We had recognized power, like non-formal power, but we had far more of it back then when we were behind the curtain than we do now. It was called drawing room politics for a reason. Do you know how many businessmen made good deals because their wives talked to some other wives or had someone over to tea? I mean, that was not just women doing social hour. That was women strategically going out to talk to other women and then bringing all that information back home to your husbands. And it has been said many times throughout history that the biggest asset a man has is an intelligent wife.
It goes to the saying we've all heard: behind every successful man stands a woman, right? Or variations thereof. That was so true. And it doesn't put the woman down, it doesn't put the man down. They were a team. And
It
we fought for
it prioritizes the family, really.
exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly right.
Rather than the individuals, which is what we have
Correct.
now.
Right. And now our priority is trying to, build a career in a company that once you go 5 weeks later, they don't even know who you are. Right. I mean, I was high level in some corporate environments. I guarantee you, if I went into those offices now, not a one of them would know who the hell I was. If I walked into the school district where I ran the technology department, none of them would know who I was. Think about the companies that you worked for, the CEOs, top level. How many of them can you name? Right? All the companies I worked for, by the way, I was C-suite in a couple of them. Right? I couldn't name the whole C team. I don't remember them all. I might remember the CEO or the CO. I remember COOs because that's who I reported to primarily. But we're all chasing this. I'm going to be, Elon Musk. Well, there's only one Elon Musk, or whatever CEO you want to pick. There's only one. And we're all chasing this and we're killing ourselves and we're losing humanity in the process. Because, again, I'll go back to what we talked about a little while ago. The greatest thing we can do as human beings is raise more human beings. There is no greater accomplishment. And anyone who wants to disagree with me, fine. That's your opinion. But we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that.
No, and that's not saying that everyone needs to go out and have children, but don't shit on the people that want
Right.
to.
If you choose to not have children, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I would also caution you, don't make that decision at 20 years old, because when you're 35, things might change. Right.
Although
Well,
I will say this of the women who sit there and say, "Well, women were always expected to have children. It's expected of me," and I will always forever bring up my aunt. My aunt I love her to death. She was born the year after the war. She was born in 46. This woman was born in the time period where you were expected to marry and have children. She didn't want children, and guess what? She never had them. So you cannot sit there and tell me that it's expected of you. And not only that, I love it when the feminists use this line. I was like, your whole thing is saying fuck the patriarchy. So shouldn't you have said fuck the patriarchy and not had children rather than say, okay, yes, sir, yes, daddy, I'll have children now? Like,
You know what?
you're a hypocrite.
Here's what's going to happen, though. So my generation, right, the late boomers, we're now starting to age out of working, right, and getting to that point where we're going to need at some point someone to take care of us. It's part of being a human being. And all these women who built their careers and ensued marriage, ensued children, all that, they got nobody. They always pointed out for the men, well, men aren't going to survive. Go look in the nursing homes. Nursing home, the residents are 90 to 95% female in most nursing homes. They got no one to take care of them. The few that did have kids, the kids dump them off because they don't want to take care of mom. So you may think that having that great career, and it's the same thing for guys, by the way, right, is going to be the be all end all, and you're going to have a ton of money. Yeah, okay. Most people in my age group are dead broke. There's a crisis coming financially that nobody's talking about. And I'm not talking Social Security. My age group, they have very little money in the bank. Very little. And the ones behind us have even less. And, again, that goes back to we prioritize stuff. We prioritize our careers. Because back in the day, dad brought the check home, handed it to mom, and she made sure some money got saved. Right?
Well, I think we discussed this several times a month, but like the child support guidelines, for example, they don't account for retirement.
Not at all.
Why? Why?
Well, I also Dan brought up a good point when he said that it used to be that the husband would bring home the check and hand it to mom. And I think that's something that a lot of people nowadays don't know. They assume that the husband had all control over the finances. And technically speaking, yes, in many cases, his name was on the money. His name was on the bank account. But the wife had access to the bank account. She's the one who set the budget. She's the one who did all of that. I know my grandmother did that. And she was not unique in that regard because I sat and played bridge with all of her friends, and that's what all they talked about when all of their husbands were still alive, and that's what they used to do. And I've read diary entries. I've read little memoirs written by women who lived in my grandmother's era. My grandmother was born in 1917, and that's what they did. The husband earned the money, but he didn't necessarily decide what to do with the money. That was the homemaker's job because she ran the household. She ran the books. When my grandmother died, we found a whole closet in a room full of all of the account books, all of the ledgers.
Oh yeah, it was all done by hand back then.
All done by hand.
Yep.
That she just kept. And that's why I get really angry when I see people who say marriage is about happiness or this or that. I said, no, it's a partnership. It's you finding a partner to go through the shit show that is called life. Basically like your battle buddy. And that's what you need. That's why you need to pick a partner. And that's why love isn't enough. Because if Prince Charming can't bring home the bacon, but you can't sweep the floors, well, then you're both shit out of luck. And it's a partnership, and you have to care about your partner. I see a lot of women who want a sponsorship, not a partnership or a relationship. And then on the same score, I see the same amount of, or not, there's less men, but I do see a large, increasing number of men who are looking at relationships the way women do. And I can only assume that the reason that is because these men were raised by single moms. They don't have the male influence to teach them otherwise.
Yep. Bingo.
Here's the other.
Go ahead, Curtis.
Well, it kind of goes back. We have some mutual friends here that prioritize their career, and they're attorneys. Well, they don't have kids, and now they're in their 50s,
and they're miserable.
They're miserable,
and because I talk to these people, men and women, by the way. And they're like, what am I going to do in 10, 15, 20, 25 years? I have no one.
They have no one to leave their money to. They have no one to impart that wisdom to, those experiences, and they feel this huge sense of loss. And if you have the good fortune of having kids in your late 30s, early 40s, how much time do you get with them before you die?
Or grandchildren.
About the same amount of time that a grandchild and a grandparent have.
I mean, I was, my grandparent. Now, my grandfather on my father's side died when I was very young, like a year old. But I had about 10 years with my grandmother on my father's side. I had 34 with my grandmother on my mother's side. My grandfather on my mother's side, he was alive till 2011, but I rarely saw him. I see these people, like I have a good friend that I went to high school with. And I always joke about it. I had a set of twins at 25. A mutual friend, it was a group of three of us. He had his twins at 35. Well, she had hers at 45. All right. We're all going to be 62 this year. She's still raising her twins. They're still in high school. So by the time they graduate, let's say they go to college and all that, if they have kids, which again was an if, not a when, how many years is she going to get to spend with those grandkids? Whereas I had my kids young, right? I
was 22 when Dylan was born.
Yeah,
my mom was 21. And my grandmother was 18. My great grandmother was 16.
I mean, I was 40. I was 49, turning 50 when my oldest granddaughter was born. So I'll have 20, 25, 30 years with her. That's going to be lost, right? Because if you wait till, I want everything now. I'm going to go travel. I'm going to do all this stuff. I'll worry about life later. Like somebody mentioned earlier, the boomers have 30% of the money. That's because we didn't have a new cell phone every year. We weren't buying the latest video game that came out every time. We weren't driving. I always talk about the $80,000 trucks. We weren't buying the 5 bedroom, 6 bath houses for 2 people.
Inflation wasn't that big of a deal,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
we
I,
didn't have that many business interests that were like taking off.
yeah, I mean, we were raised primarily, my generation, by people that went through the Depression, and they passed it on to us. That's long gone, and it's going to take another depression before it reverses. And at some point, it will happen. It has
Well,
nothing
I
to do with politics. It's just the ebb and flow of things.
well, I still
We
think
didn't piss
I
it away
still
on junk. There you go, Roger.
What?
Roger
uh,
said we didn't piss it away on junk.
Exactly. I mean, the cell phone I've had two in 14 years. I know people that have had two in every year because as soon as a new one comes out, they go and get it. I'm like,
Houston, you're right. Lots of leftovers.
you know,
leftovers and hand-me-down furniture. Almost
Secondhand clothes
everything
too.
you see behind me, the bookcase, the corner cabinet, and the chair, all did not I did not buy them.
my,
All of them
my
are inherited.
my first apartment that I had with my X1, Satan, um, we didn't buy a single bit of furniture. It was either hand me downs from someone else, picked it up on the side of the road,
Yeah.
got it handed to us by friends.
Even
Now, I
even
saw somebody that they just got married and they went out and blew probably $100,000 on furniture. They got a huge house. I mean, they have a 5,000 square foot house. It's two of them, and their mortgage in 3 months is what mine is in a year, and that includes my taxes. I'm just talking their mortgage. It's ridiculous. So anyway, we do got to wrap things up because we only got 2 minutes left. This flew by today. Lots of good stuff. Yeah, final thought. The median new home buyer today is 50 years old. That's because you don't save any money for down payment.
No.
or and or they want the big house, not a house.
Like I had someone just tell me they just saw my house for the first time. They're like, this house is perfect. 2 bedroom, 2 bath. Until I put this addition on 900 square feet. We
You
couldn't be
don't
happy.
need it. Why would you want to clean that much?
I could have bought, beachside for $1,500,000 because we were actually just looking at one, right?
Yeah, but cleaning 3,000 square feet is insane. 5,000 square feet.
My buddy's got a
That's stupid.
4,800 square foot house. Him and his wife live in it. He's 78, she's 76. They pay someone to clean it. And no joke, this is what he told me not too long ago. I haven't set foot upstairs in 3 years.
My rule when we bought this house was that I didn't want any house where I would have a room that I wouldn't have a reason to be in it at least once a day.
And we had a big house up north. I mean, not 5,000. We had about 2,800 feet up north. That's why we said when we moved down here, we're going to find a 2-2 was our goal, and we found it. And we do got to wrap things up because we only got about a minute left. Great topic. She's the queen here. She runs the show. Curtis and I are just along for the ride. Queen Sheba, we call her behind the scenes. I'm just teasing her.
She's the one with the hustle.
She is. Thank you to everyone who gifted us. One I didn't mention was Say Nay Tune sent a whole bunch of love yous. Thank you for that way back when. Sorry I didn't get to it sooner. How can everybody be following you, Curtis? I'll do whatever.
Bauer 82 on YouTube, Curtis Bauer on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. What else? Whatever else there is. Not TikTok.
Lindsay started doing videos again because I saw one the other day.
Yes, I've started doing TikTok videos again. I am Squirrel Girl 1988 on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, and I am just Squirrel Girl on Facebook.
And I'm meant to be heard everywhere. And if you're watching on TikTok, you're actually on my channel because we can't get Boy Meets Squirrel working. So, we've been doing this for 2.5 years now, Lindsay, you and I?
Yeah.
Something like that. And so one thing, Curtis, I'm going to throw it out there that we might be testing new software soon, right? maybe try it next week.
I figure at our next little meeting that we have scheduled, we'll probably
Talk about it.
play with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to let people know that you might see some changes, but the show's going to be the same. It's just the way we deliver it. So I have a feeling there'll be some hiccups. Just bear with us when that time comes. So just wanted to throw that out there in case we do end up doing it next week. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Go, Lindsay, close it down.
Bye, guys.